Young voters are weighing in on what matters most to them in this election cycle.
Without asking who they're voting for, Brittany Decker spoke to students at the University of Alabama on the issues at stake and what will win their vote.
When you're making your decisions, when you're about to go cast your ballot, is this more focused on issue or personality and character of the person you're voting for?
When I'm voting, I focus more on the issues because these are things that are affecting us in our day-to-day lives, whereas if a person's nice or not may not have that same impact on us.
I think it's a mixture of both when deciding who the perfect presidential candidate is. And for me, it's neither one. I think they both have good and bad policy. They both have questionable character, and for that reason, I wrote in a candidate. And I'm proud of that decision, and my voice has been heard.
The actual policies more so than the actual individual, right? I mean, we've lived under both, and I prefer, the Trump presidency over the Biden-Harris.
I think that something that's really important, at least for me, is considering the leadership qualities of the different elected officials, because that can impact how the institution goes forward and impact the respect the institution has. We saw this with Nixon, with the executive losing a lot of credibility. And you also saw that with Bill Clinton after the Lewinsky scandal. So it's something really important to consider your leader's qualities because it can affect the legitimacy of the office later.
I know for the person who I'm voting for, I know they have morals that align with mine and ideas and policies that align with mine as well.
I think having a character that is able to hold steadfast in divisive issues is important.
A couple of issues were mentioned here. Can you talk about other issues that are vital or really important right now, especially to your generation?
I'm really worried about cost of living since most of us are about to graduate from college. It's something that we're all going to have to start worrying about soon. And so I'd just like to see someone that can get that down.
The issues that really matter to me are women's reproductive rights, focusing on like lower middle class families in the United States, and I think that there's one candidate that will do that.
Now we have issues like Roe v. Wade being overturned or Chevron deference being overturned, and it's causing more younger voters to start thinking about the Supreme Court and the fact that the president is going to nominate the next Supreme Court justice. It looks like we'll have probably two, with Clarence Thomas likely stepping down and Sotomayor stepping down. So a lot of people are starting to think about that.
How important is it to know both sides of policy and both sides of issues before casting your ballot?
I think that a lot of people go into it with the idea of what they think they want and what they think is right and which side is right, but there's a lot to learn on both sides, and there's important issues on both sides.
Once you're confronted with a contrary opinion, it really makes you think, and it really makes you think, well, is my preconceived notion correct?
I mean, most of the time that we talk about respecting an opinion, it requires you to actually understand other people's perspectives and having empathy and just learning about how other people think. A lot of times you're not going to be able to convince other people to change their opinion on most things. But the best thing you can do is at least get a better idea of why they believe those things, and also maybe consider changing your own opinion if you feel like it needs to be changed.